G'day guys, and welcome to this business management lesson. In today's lesson, we're looking at key knowledge point 1 to 11. That is Unit 1, Area of Study 2, and the 11th key knowledge point for this area of study. Today specifically, we're looking at corporate social responsibility and the considerations that relate to corporate social responsibility that need to be evaluated when conducting business planning. Corporate social responsibility is a thread that runs throughout the business management study design, and it crops its head up in most areas of study from Unit 1 to Unit 4. That's why I like to spend time helping my students to build their understanding of what corporate social responsibility is, and that starts with making sure you've got a solid definition for corporate social responsibility. The definition I like my students to use is that corporate social responsibility is the ongoing commitment or the continuing commitment of a business to go above and beyond the minimum acceptable standard in an economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable manner whilst balancing the interests of diverse stakeholders. If you've got that on lock, if you can pump that out at any time, you're going to have a pretty thorough definition of what corporate social responsibility is. It's about making sure that you, as the business manager, is going above and beyond to take care of the environment, take care of any economic considerations, and most importantly, take care of any stakeholders to meet and exceed their interests in the business. It is really important when you're planning your business in those earlier stages that you are thinking about ways that you can go above and beyond to take care of these things. It is a market expectation, particularly these days, that exploitation is avoided and that you are generally being a positive global citizen in your business management. That you are doing your best to encourage and support the stakeholders that interact with your business. That you're doing your best to stamp out exploitation and dishonest practices from your business model. Some examples of common corporate social responsibility considerations for business can come from environmental impacts. Certainly, every business will use inputs and will use resources. You're also going to be operating from a location where you'll be using water and power, potentially gas and other fossil fuels. So, some ways business can demonstrate their corporate social responsibility with regards to environmental considerations might be choosing energy providers that utilize clean and green and renewable sources for energy rather than fossil fuels. Certainly, if you're using wood as an input or leather or any other organic inputs, that you're choosing to use these from sustainable sources rather than supporting destructive agricultural practices or deforestation. And certainly, if you're using plastics as an input, using recycled plastics rather than increasing global dependence on petroleum products. Certainly, when thinking about social impacts or community impacts, a business needs to make choices around their hiring practices. Certainly, hiring from exclusively the local environment will ensure that the wages that you're paying go back into the local economy, and you'll be supporting the local economy through measures like that. Certainly, where you have the opportunity to hire employees from overseas, you will be saving the business money, but those wages will be lost from the local economy. And this is just illustrating how important it can be to hire from the local economy to support to hire local individuals to support the local economy. And certainly when it comes to risk management, where your employees are involved, businesses should heavily invest in safety. The WorkSafe legislation that exists, particularly in Victoria, is designed to establish minimums for business safety. If corporate social responsibility is going above and beyond the minimum acceptable standard, then what we're talking about is businesses investing to go well beyond whatever the minimum safety regulations are. If it is a safety regulation on all construction sites in Victoria that any individuals are wearing appropriate PPE, personal protective equipment, that might include a hard hat or a helmet and eye protection like safety goggles, you might, as a business manager, stipulate that your contractors and your employees must have their own PPE, because that would be the legal minimum, but it might be one way that you can demonstrate corporate social responsibility to invest in a supply of these PPE items so that you can provide them for your employees, taking care of their safety for them and on their behalf. That's not a requirement in the legislation, and that would be a demonstration of corporate social responsibility. It's going above and beyond the minimum standard. When we're talking about investing in safety, we're talking about increasing your costs. This is going to cost businesses more, but the safer your employees are, the less likely there are going to be any accidents that cause injury or harm to your employees or to your work site, to the materials that you're using. And ultimately, we can see that as an investment worth making, because hopefully it will build a culture of trust. It'll build a culture of your employees will feel safe and feel valued, and that should help ensure that your business can remain successful and profitable into the future. Now, we've been pretty broad with this lesson. That's because we're not talking about any specific example with regards to a business. When you are given a case study or you're talking about a specific example, make sure to consider the context of that business. Are there certain things that the business managers could be doing in that context to be demonstrating particular care for stakeholders, or for environmental impacts or for social impacts? Typically, corporate social responsibility is going to cost businesses. Where policies and procedures are designed to increase the social responsibility of the business's impact, typically costs are going to be slightly higher. But in many cases where a business fails to demonstrate social responsibility, the consequences for the business can be almost devastating. Businesses that are slow to divest from exploitative practices or exploitative supply chains will often be revealed through the media as using slavery in their supply chains, and that impact on their customer base can be enormous. It's brought businesses completely undone in the past. So for businesses that are investing in social responsibility, the chances of them suddenly being brought undone for having breached community standards is a lot lower. With any deliberate efforts to establish and maintain high social responsibilities, it's unlikely a business is going to fail because they weren't reflecting the community's values. That's one reason that a business should invest in corporate social responsibility. Another might just be that it's the right thing to do. Objectively, as a society, as a culture, we have determined that some things are morally right and some things are morally wrong. It is a hallmark of modern Western civilization and thinking that slavery is taboo, and we don't endorse slavery in our modern economic systems. So businesses that are still using slavery in their supply chains are becoming fewer and fewer, as it's found over time that customers don't like giving their money to businesses that continue to employ these practices in their supply chains. That's another reason that businesses should be conscious of their corporate social responsibility. That's all for today. See you next time.